theatre, film, TV and more. Suzy Rong reviews it all on Joy Drive.
Good afternoon, Suzy Rong.
Good afternoon, Warren. Did you know that in India, they make something like close to 2,000 movies a year?
2,000 per year. That's amazing. This is Bollywood.
That's Bollywood. In the US and Canada, there's something like 700. So they're about almost 3 times more in India.
Well, we watched one this week, Suzy, BADHAAI. I think I'm pronouncing it right, BADHAAI. I've got to admit, Suzy, I'll tell you a bit what I thought about it afterwards, but at first I thought, and then I was absolutely hooked. What did you think of it?
And then you texted me
I texted
to
you
tell me how much you loved it. You were so excited.
And you text me back and you said it gets better, and you're right, it gets so much better. But
Yeah.
let's hear what you thought about it first.
The story takes place in Dehradun in India, where Shardul works as a policeman and Sumi is a PE teacher. Sumi goes to Shardul one day when she is blackmailed by a nasty catfish who is threatening to out her as lesbian to her family. After Shardul helps Sumi with the problem, he approaches her in a private capacity to ask for her hand in marriage, because Shardul too is secretly gay. This film, BADHAAI, is an unromantic comedy where boy meets girl and they don't fall in love. It explores the phenomenon of gay men and women marrying each other to comply with family expectations and to circumvent social norms. It offers a close look into something that many of us have no doubt heard about. The film succeeds not only at making this queer dynamic amusing, it takes the opportunity to show in intricate detail the challenges gay and lesbian people face in places like India today, where things are improving, but not quite quickly enough. I found BADHAAI deeply engrossing. It's written with extraordinary incisiveness and is directed with great sensitivity. The acting is excellent, not only with very charismatic leads, but also an amazing supporting cast. Especially powerful are performances by its veteran actors. There is a lot of humor that makes it a fun watch, but there's also a lot of truth that's being revealed. It appeals to the goodness in Indian audiences, but does not come across pitiful or groveling in its urging for acceptance. BADHAAI is expertly made. There is a lot of tension throughout that will keep you intrigued and captivated. Its jokes are presented with considerable subtlety, and there is a great deal of dignity in how queer people are portrayed. It is a hopeful movie, one that contains a lot of wisdom and kindness, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. Warren, I found it one of the most unpredictable movies ever. Don't you think it's full of surprises, like you never know where it's going?
That is so true. So you don't know. It's the sort of movie that you just can't put down. It's that blend of comedy and drama, and BADHAAI balances it absolutely perfectly. I've got to say, Suzy, it's possibly one of the most enjoyable movies I think I've ever seen. I mean it. I really do. It was absolutely brilliant. The performances are superb by all the cast. I mean, all of them. It just absolutely amazing. I think Shardul and Sumi are amazing characters, but I absolutely loved Shardul's mother. I mean, she was amazing. She was an amazing actor.
She was extraordinary. It was sort of like a quirky character. I think that the film is great, like we said earlier. It was so surprised because I think you know from the outset what it's going to be, but you just never know how it's going to develop. And it is, like a lot of Indian movies very long. It's over 2 hours long, and you just think, where can this go? And it keeps going and going to surprising places.
It could have been a whole series.
And a lot of the characters that come in through their lives, that some of them make things hard for them, but they don't come from sort of a nefarious. They're not like evil people, right? They're just behaving the way people are expected to behave. And then I guess there is this journey of them being educated and learning about this girl and this boy in their lives that they love, and then they've discovered slowly what their true identities are in terms of the sexuality. And although it doesn't fit really into how their social lives are, the way they kind of are able to kind of understand their lives and in a different way, and then they kind of find ways to accommodate everybody. I think it's just done in such a tender way.
Absolutely. I mean, they made a great couple. I was actually thinking, and I don't want to have any spoilers, but I'm glad about the ending was great because I thought they made a great couple.
There is a lot of tension, right?
There is a lot of tension.
Because the two of them. The two of them, like, you're thinking, oh, please don't turn this into a straight movie, a straight love story for 2.5 hours, because they keep getting closer and closer because they have so much in common, and they are on this project of secrecy together. And I'm worried the whole time, oh, please don't turn it into a really really terrible, cheesy Hollywood ending, but it doesn't. So there is that tension that keeps pulling you along. Yeah.
We're chatting with Suzy Wrong about the movie streaming on Netflix, BADHAAI, BADHAAI. Go and see it. If you haven't, you sit down in your lounge room and see it. Now, Suzy, you mentioned some stats before about Hollywood versus Bollywood. Now, I'm assuming that LGBTIQ Bollywood films aren't as common as they are in Hollywood. But I've got to say, if this is what they're like when they come out, they do it so much better than Hollywood.
Well, they have such a huge culture of filmmaking and such a long history. So I think when the right people are doing the films, they are very good. They make really good films. It's just that I think culturally, tone and content-wise, maybe it's not very appealing to us who live in the West. Like, I think when we started watching this one, we thought, oh, is it going to be, difficult? Like a lot of the tone stuff, is it going to be difficult for us to sort of handle? And and obviously I'm sure we had these sort of worry about what queer people are going to be, how queer people are going to be portrayed, because history hasn't been very good to us in terms of these portrayals. But you can see how skillful the filmmaking is, how sort of like they tell the story in such a dynamic way, but also really sensitive, and also there's so much kindness that I found, like, as a queer person watching it, you just find that, oh, this is a rare occasion where you're entertained, you're laughing at the jokes, with the jokes, but at the same time you do feel they take a lot of care in sort of how they address the queer characters, and how they address the queer audiences that they probably were expecting.
That's right. And I think the laughs just come so unexpectedly. I also thought it captured so well, the damage done, I suppose, by homophobia, not only to the individuals ultimately, but to those families, serving it up, whether they are enlightened or not about that they are actually damaging their own family. And the pressure, I've never really, I've heard about it, but I don't understand the pressure of family in certain cultures, but it must be so difficult and so excruciating. And even though, comedy was peppered in throughout the movie, you could feel the weight of this pressure of the family, and I felt very fortunate because I would just say piss off, but that's me, and that's the way I was brought up. But not everyone has that luxury and the ability to be able to say that, because the stakes are so high.
Yeah, our last chat about that Taiwanese movie, Marry My Dead Body, we talked about that a little bit, about how the cultural differences, like when you meet someone, say you get into a relationship as a Western person and you meet someone from a different culture, you just have so much to deal with that you probably don't expect. I think in this film, it's quite clear, the cultural differences, and they handle it so well.
Fantastic. Also, it's a very moving film. This is BADHAAI that we're talking about with Suzy Wrong. I found it a very moving film. The energy and the extent put in to hide oneself just to, I suppose, get love and approval from one's family is enormous. And, we should never underestimate the toll it takes on everyone, Suzy.
Yeah, the way they portray the love is really good, isn't it?
Oh, it's brilliant.
Before they discover the queerness and after they discover the queerness, even though there is sort of an awkward period, we kind of have a really beautiful, maybe half an hour of how the family gets used to it. Like the family goes through this period of transition, and even though they kind of don't change their core values, that they've managed to find a way to accommodate everyone. It's just done with so much maturity, I think.
Definitely. And the other thing is, I don't want to spoil it, but the coming out scene is absolutely magnificent and brilliant and very moving and emotional. And I think that roller coaster of the movie, that unexpectedness of you don't know how you're going to be feeling, like you said, Suzy, you don't know where the movie is going to go, and then bang.
Yeah.
The coming out scene towards the end of the movie was absolutely brilliant. I loved it. I loved the music. I found the music completely uplifted me throughout the whole film. I found myself tapping along. A few times I woke my
it's
dog
great.
up
Like, it
tapping
sort of
him.
has these Bollywood elements. Bollywood elements that come in every maybe 10-15 minutes. You get a bit of a song, which is not something that we're used to, but they've done it in a really nice way. And you're right, it's a very moving film, but none of it is sort of seen before. It all feels very new.
Yeah, definitely. It's progressive, it's funny, it's entertaining, it's moving. The movie stole my heart, and as I said, it's going to be one of my top movies. I would encourage you to go and see it. It's on Netflix, streaming now. It's called BADHAAI, BADHAAIDO. Go and see it. Suzy, what are we going to be watching next week? Another one of these?
Danielle Lately, Two Tribes is a new documentary on Stan about an AFL star who came out as trans just 3 years ago. That's just gone online today. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Her name is Danielle Lately, and the documentary is Two Tribes.
Suzy.
And I'll see you next Tuesday.
Thanks, Suzy.
Bored of too many ads and dull, meaningless chat? We've got neither. Joy Drive. Smart, fun radio.